Hello, my name's Tim, welcome to Tim Burbage Reads, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This is a literary classic and was written... When was it written? Was published in 1847, so this is almost 200 years old, 180 years old. And this is, I think, the only full novel written by Charlotte Bronte, one of the Bronte sisters. This was something else. So I listened to this completely on audio. It was narrated by a person supposedly called Olivia Lane. I'm not sure, I say supposedly because I feel like the narrator was probably AI. It was a good narration. It was better than other narrations that I've heard, which have been very obviously AI. The only things that made me think this was AI was random accent changes for very short periods, probably only a minute or two, and it happened maybe a dozen times, which really stood out to me and something that someone would have noticed. So, what's this book about? This is about Jane Eyre. This is her autobiography. So it's a fictional autobiography, which is interesting, and it covers three main periods in her life. The first part is when she was a child and she was looked after by her aunt and had a horrible childhood. The second part is where she is a governess and then is a young adult and ends up working for Mr. Rochester, who is kind of a famous character in the story. And then the third part is something that happens after all the stuff with Mr. Rochester, which I'm not going to spoil, because there's some big twists in there. The first part was very good, quite grim. The whole book is very grim and sad, and anything that could possibly happen that is bad will happen to Jane Eyre. She has a very, very rough childhood, and it was hard to read at points, hard to listen to at points because it was so grim, but it was very good. The second part is where the book, I think, really shines. You have Mr. Rochester. There is a sense of dread about the whole situation, and there is a mystery there, which, if you know what the twist is, which I knew previously going into it, but you could spot what's happening. Then you have the third part, which I'm not going to spoil, because I think the story is famous for Jane Eyre and Mr. Rochester. I didn't really know about this third part. And it was really boring. It felt like just a sequel to the main story that I wasn't really interested in. I was definitely just kind of going through the motions listening to this last act. So for me, I think one thing that really elevates this is the prose. The style that it's written is very excellent. Very imaginative. You have the sense of like dread and sorrow throughout all of this. I think there's a huge theme of mental health in this. So Jane, what she experiences when she's younger, how you see other people dealing with their mental health challenges. You see this shadow of depression over quite a lot of the characters, and how even when good things happen, they feel like it's not going to last. And they can't enjoy it, which I thought was very good. And there is also a theme of women's suffrage, ultimately. Jane Eyre doesn't get told what to do by a lot of people, or if they do tell her what to do, she doesn't do a very good job of listening. She is very strong-willed, very strong-minded, and is willing to break social norms and societal contracts to look after herself, ultimately, which is she's quite a strong heroine. She's definitely a strong heroine. So overall, I really enjoyed the book. I think I'm going to give it 4 stars. The only thing that's stopping it from being 5 stars is that final section where I just wasn't as invested. I wasn't as invested in what was going on, or the relationships involved, or the cast of characters, but it did show that Jane had grown and changed and kind of took control of her own destiny, which was good to read. So, I've read Wuthering Heights, I've read Jane Eyre, I still have yet to read Agnes Grey by Anne Bronte. and then I would have done the 3 main novels by the 3 Bronte sisters. So let me know in the comments below if it's worth reading Agnes Grey, what you thought of it, and I'll see you in the next one. Now, get out of my house!